Let's go.
Hi, everybody. This is Elena from Cross Cultural Development, and you're listening to Bending Culture podcast, the show where we master the art of cultural collaboration and where the professional learn and master how they can thrive and grow in the multicultural world we live and work in today, and how they can become real global game changers. In today's episode, we are looking at a very special market, the market of business mergers and acquisitions in general, but we also dive into the impact the culture the business owners are coming from, their background, can have on this whole process of buying, selling, merging your business. And it can be in the most profound way, I believe. We are doing it with our guest of today, Brian Ploeg. Brian specializes in mergers and acquisition, helping company owners with this new step in their business and actually, I believe, sometimes in their lives. What is truly unique about Brian as a professional in his branch is that he is able to consult his client actually on the whole package, the field of business administration, the field of business management, finance, taxes, and legislature. Jack of all trades, Brian. With this broad background, he is able to address actually any issues that can arise within a transaction. Combine this with a very broad network of buyers and sellers, and you have an ideal match for a fast and efficient process of merging. I also got to know Brian as not only the legislature and numbers guy, but also as somebody who is interested in people, in personal development, in personal growth. And that, I think, makes him even more a unique M&A, right? That's how I pronounce it, M&A advisor. The one who can not only advise on the hard stuff, but also who can coach and mentor his clients through the whole process. Brian, welcome. Great to have you here today.
Thank you. What an amazing introduction. Thank you so much, Elena.
Very much. Welcome. Thank you.
I don't know what I can add. You've told it all.
Yes, I'm sure you can add some stuff. The first thing that interests me when we're talking about this business you are in, it sounds like hard cash business, right? Money, 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 that the bottom line, that is the most important thing. But when you are selling your company, for example, or you are merging it with another company and it is the business you build up from the ground, it's your baby. It cannot be all about the money, right?
No, the money is a difficult part in M&A because it brings up so many emotions. When you have your business, you also get your monthly salary from your business. When you sell it, you don't have any income anymore. So if you make a mistake or if you have to pay the buyer a part of the price back, you've just lost your source of income. And on the other side, it's also very scary because they invest a lot of money and maybe they will not get the company that they think they are going to get because there might be problems or maybe they need to add money to keep the company going and accept high risk. So it is all about the money, but it's mostly about what the money does to people in fear and mindset and risk management.
Yeah, because all what you are saying, I hear it's risk and fears. But people still do that, right? So they want to get something more out of it.
Yes. Yes, and because they want to eliminate the risks and don't want to lose their money, they get very uptight in the process. Then it looks very hard and all about money and contracts and hard business, but it's all trying not to lose the money and not to accept risks that they cannot oversee. Because when you buy a company for millions and the company is worth half, then you have a big problem on your hands. So you're constantly weighing the risks. You could lose
Job
money
is
very
to
fast.
help them to make the risk as little as possible or to eliminate them at all. Is it possible?
Well, you have to do your investigations in the right manner so that you can oversee the risks. Most interesting is that because of the fear of making a bad deal or accepting higher risk, that's why behavior changes. And that's why it really is a people process, because you really have to help people manage the risk, the fear that they have.
Yeah.
Also, that if they want to sell their own company, somebody is for the first time looking at the company if it is organized well, if it is managed well. That's also very scary for a business owner to let somebody in and look at it all. Maybe it isn't as good as they think it is. And in the negotiations, the buyer is going to use it. And that's also a very scary process for the business owner, especially when you have had the company for your whole life.
And even if you know that the company is not maybe that good, but to hear from somebody else some critical feedback, yeah,
Yeah,
that can
difficult.
be very painful.
Yeah.
Right. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I've been doing this a lot of years for financial institutions
Okay.
like banks and insurers, and I'm now doing this for 3 years for SME companies. So small businesses, well, small businesses until a revenue of 60 million. It's not really small, but in the
Well, small,
Netherlands, we
middle
call it
size.
small
Let
business.
how do you see the change in the 3 years, or maybe you can compare it before with your experience in the working for the bigger institution? Do you see the difference how this small and middle sized business changed in this last years?
Well, we see a lot of people getting older. So there a lot of people, that's called the baby boomers, are exiting the market. So they want to sell, but the main difference is that it's hard to grow for companies because the market is already divided. And then it's very hard, and you have to spend a lot of money to do acquisition and gain more customers and more revenue. So a lot of people are now buying their competition. So they're really buying the companies to add the revenue to their own. And that's really happening now a few years, and started in September last year. Now
Okay.
everybody is buying, selling like crazy.
So yeah, so I really appreciate that you found the time to be here guest and not just selling and buying this stuff.
Yeah, we spoke about it before. It's a crazy busy time. We have a lot of M&A advisors in the Netherlands, like my own office. I think there are like 400 in the Netherlands, but we are all very busy. And I hear it from all my competitors also. We don't know what's going on in the market, but everybody is doing something, or they are selling or they are buying.
I don't know anyone who is selling now, but I know a lot of people who are coaching and training, right?
Yes, yeah, when the companies are getting sold or parties are trying to buy, it's very hush hush. Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, yeah,
You hear it when it's done,
yeah.
and that's very interesting and sometimes also hard because when you want to sell a company, and most of the time, you don't want to tell anybody that it's being sold because companies could go to the competition. You could really devaluate the company.
Okay.
Staff could find another job because they get insecure. What will happen when my company is sold? So you really don't tell it, and then you read it in the newspaper, and a lot of parties are thinking, when I would have known that this company was for sale, I would have bought it.
Yeah.
And that's also a bit tricky as M&A advisor, inform the right people, but it's always a surprise when a company is sold because nobody's talking about it.
What I hear is that you're saying that it can also be a surprise for the people who are working in the company.
Absolutely, yes. You never want to tell the people in the company that the company is being sold.
But is it not like a bad management, bad
Well,
leadership?
it's bad management when you tell them.
Yeah. Okay. So sometimes transparency is not good.
It works two ways. When the competition knows that the company is being sold, they will call the staff and offer them a job because the insecurity of the transaction is too much for staff. And that's also when you are selling the company and you tell your staff, they get insecure because they cannot manage mentally what this means. Will they still have a job? What will happen? Will they have the same salary? Do they have to prove themselves all over again for the new management? And when they know, they just leave the company.
Yeah, I
And
can
when you
imagine
don't have
that.
your staff, you don't have a company to
Yeah.
sell. And then And you're also right, because good management is also when the deal is done, then you really have to make the right choices in communication to get the staff involved and inform them in every step so that they stay on board.
So the baby boomers are moving out,
Yeah.
and the new dogs on the block are coming in ready to
By
make money.
everyone. Well, everything is getting more expensive. So the margins that companies make are lower and lower. Everything that's coming from, for example, the US, everything is getting more expensive. So you have to do more revenue to keep your margins healthy.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it's grow or die. You need to do something because the costs are just getting higher and you just can't let the company exist anymore.
Yeah.
So, and then competitors start fighting each other to buy each other, and that's a very nice situation.
For you,
Yes, yes.
do you think that they also experience it as let's do that, or is it like what you say, it's grow or die? So I have to. Maybe
They
I
really
don't
have
want to,
to.
but I have
It's
to.
very good for the seller. You see prices rising. So last Tuesday, I posted a new company for sale, and I think I have now already 17 serious buyers.
Wow.
That's really a lot. I've never seen that kind of numbers in this size of a company.
But
So
you say
that's very,
posted.
yeah. So I posted
It's not
online.
that you posted it on LinkedIn because it should be right.
No, it's all anonymous, so they can't see the company name, but I give it a description of the company,
Yeah.
and they can. We have this online board where you can post the companies that are being sold, and they can show their interest, and I will contact them and tell them about the company. And if they
Okay.
are really interested, I will visit them and tell them all about it. Then very soon negotiation starts.
But does it mean that small and middle business will slowly disappear? Because I was reading an article from Germany, and they are talking that these small and middle businesses are the backbone of German economy. So the government is really doing their best to keep the companies alive and functioning. And does it mean that this the process in Netherlands is going the other way around?
Well, for the Netherlands, the SME companies are as important, but our government isn't really helping them.
Yeah.
Really not. Really not. There's a flood in regulation, higher costs. So we've seen the transportation in the cities that needs to be electrical. So you really see companies ending because of regulation, and I see it more than ever before. So that really isn't helping. In the Netherlands, we always want to be the first that has all the regulation implemented. SME firms really have a hard time because of it. But it is the backbone. It's the company owners that fight the most
Yeah.
for their position, and I think it are the most beautiful companies in the markets. The big companies, also the companies that are not owned anymore. When the normal people have stocks in a company, nobody owns it, so everybody works there. SME firms, the owner owns it. He really needs to take responsibility for it,
And you have
and that's
about a
different.
deeper connection and deeper culture and Brian, we met when you visited a workshop I was giving on doing business in multicultural surroundings. Why was you there? What was your motivation to visit this workshop?
Yeah. At first, of course, I wanted to hear you speak,
Of course.
and I was very happy to see that it was very interesting. But we also do cross-border transactions, mostly UK, Belgium, and Germany, and
Yeah.
you see a very different approach. So
Tell.
you explained it very well in your presentation, and it really matched my view on it. So that was nice to see, and I've learned a lot from it. We see that there's a real difference in companies. When I still used to work in M&A for the financial markets, I also seen very large difference with the UK. In the Netherlands, in the transactions, we are formal, but we are always looking for the relationship to the connection. So that's a lot of the feel of the business. In the UK, you see that it's more formal. They also have their own legislation. It's an other legal system that they have, so that's a little bit more difficult. So you're in the beginning. It depends on where the company is, which legal system you are using. So that's difficult for all parties. In contracts, things can have a totally different meaning based on the legal system, but they can have the same sentences. They can mean a different thing in the legal system. So that's very difficult in M&A transactions.
Can I ask you, it has something to do with Brexit and EU regulation, or is it typical British something?
Yeah, in the Brexit, we see a lot of fiscalities that are different, and in transportation and customs, and in the legal system, it's a totally different way of thinking about legal. So the judges rule in a different way.
Hey,
So that's very interesting. And in the contracts, you just choose which legal system you will use, and mostly you choose the legal system of the target. But in the UK, you see a lot more a formal way of approaching. You really need somebody in the UK that can stand for your services, that they know you, so they can introduce you. You need the connection to make the best of deals.
yeah.
And it in the Netherlands sometimes that's easier. We
Don't you
trust the
need it in
numbers.
Germany or Belgium?
In well, Germany and Belgium also are a little bit more formal. In Germany, more hierarchical. When I go to Germany, I really have to tell them that I'm a master of laws. So
Yeah.
I really have to address it, and I also have to address it to the person where I'm speaking to. Everybody is a doctor in Germany. It's very interesting. So it's very formal, and it's less humor in Germany. They always say about Germans that they don't have humor, but you really notice it in deals. In the Netherlands, you use it to break the ice sometimes. When the tension gets too high, you use some humor. But in Germany, no, just don't do it.
You don't break the ice. You make something. You break something different. You break the deal.
And in Belgium, you have the same hierarchy, but it works differently because when you work with Belgian people, you think that you have reached the deal. The handshake is very important in the Netherlands. When you say to each other, we are making the deal now, we agree on the terms, then you have a deal.
You don't even put it on paper yet. Your handshake is already the deal.
Yeah, it's like where you stand for. And in Belgium, when you make the deal and you give the handshake, you know nothing.
I heard the same thing about French that you thought that you agreed to everything and then you come back and he calls you and said, I talked to my wife or I talked to my boss and the deal
Yeah.
is done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting how it works. And in Belgium, in the hierarchy of the company, the final decision, especially in M&A, are of course bigger deals for companies, are always made in the top of the company. So lower management can say that they will make the deal, but the top always decides.
Yeah.
So when you make a deal, they say, yes, we're going to do this. You can trust we can do it. No, just leave it.
Yeah.
Wait, because they will come back with more questions or will say, oh, no, we thought about it. We're not going to do it.
Why don't you think that they don't put the decision makers right away on the table? Why is that not done? Because
Yeah.
that is this, I think, how it's really done in the Netherlands. It's the person who is taken, makes or breaks the deal is at the table. Maybe not in the first conversation, but practically
Yeah.
very soon when it becomes serious, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It depends on how big the company is. It could be a strategy.
Okay.
And the Dutch are known to be very direct. So I'm also very direct in negotiations. So sometimes they, out of awkwardness, will just talk with you and think later because they need more time, especially when they don't know you really well.
Okay.
So you see the same thing in France. They want to go out for dinner and lunch for weeks before you talk business. Dutch people don't have so much time.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about this time issue. You're getting to the point right away, no breakfast, no dinner. And then this person told me, you think it's rude, but actually it's the highest form of respect. We respect your time. I was like, okay, I never thought about it like that. If you can choose with which people to work, and I understand you can not always choose, but if you can say, these are the people, this is the country if I could do business only with them, I will be happy for the rest of my life?
Well, Dutch is easy because I'm Dutch, so that's the easy choice. But what I really like about the UK is that they are very strict on the contracts. For me, the contracts are also very important, that you really agree upon what you want to agree upon and that you don't make the contracts so difficult that nobody understands it anymore.
Okay.
So they are very clear on that the contract says everything that you have spoken about. And that's a very nice way to do business. In the Netherlands, it's the same. But the interesting thing is that lawyers sometimes break deals.
Oh,
I was speaking to a client today. The buyer has a very good relationship with the seller. We've worked on it for months. And now the lawyer puts up a contract that says the completely different thing. All the risk at the seller side, buyer side has no risk. So this contract is really ending the deal. And that's why I studied law a few years ago, because that really doesn't work in deals when the lawyer doesn't understand how a deal is made, that it's people business and that you really have to be careful with what you write down. So in the UK, they are very secure in what they write down, but mistakes being made. But you have to understand that people are doing business and you want to be doing business honestly. And that's where the most problems in deals arise. So that's why I say the UK is very good at this contract part. And Germany is more serious, but they are also very good in the contract part because they are very serious and very determined on what they want, and they have the same legal systems as the Netherlands.
yeah.
So
And
that's a bit of the
and do you
difference.
think that is it? It's a provocative question, but it came to me because you were talking with building the relationship, building. Is it building trust? But can it also be said that Germans are more trustworthy for us as Dutch people? Or you cannot say that? Am I being
Mm,
politically incorrect now?
I think it's hard to say in general. When the companies are being sold, the company owner is an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur is a seller. So he's been selling all his life and he does the same in the business deal. So the advisors really check the company. Me also, when I'm selling, I check the company if it's a good company. If it isn't, I won't sell it. And the advisor on the other side also does the due diligence to check if the company is right. But there is a very strong selling input in the deal. So if everybody is even trustworthy in the deal, I don't know.
So it's not culture bound. It's more people bound.
It's more people about the emotions about money, the fear of making a bad deal. And I see that the deals that are being guided by advisors, and also you have good and you have bad advisors, but advisors can manage the emotion a little bit more and look at the business a little bit more. What's the business doing? What are the chances in the business? And where are the real risks? And also help the buyer to see what he can do with the company in the future. Most companies can grow very easily. And when there are no advisors, you see a lot more emotion and trouble on the way, especially also in the legal part of the business, because the seller that I spoke today really doesn't understand the contract that he has to sign. And I've explained the contract and now he chooses not to sign it. But without the advisor, contracts are very easily signed and the trouble starts later.
When we say, okay, Dutch companies are easiest to deal with in some way or to manage in the process. But I think if you look at the companies, how Dutch are they really? Because I think that small and middle business in the Netherlands is very, very multicultural as well, right?
Yes, a lot of Dutch companies work internationally. We're buying goods, but also selling goods. And also when we have cross-border transactions, it's to expand internationally because the Dutch market is very small. So when you get to the German market, then you grow very fast as a company. A lot of companies from Belgium and Germany are reaching out to buy Dutch companies to get the Dutch market also, to bring the company more international. And they need the Dutch employees here to understand the Dutch market and help to manage the Dutch employees. But CEOs of the companies, they really have the challenge. They need to speak with the board on an international level. They have to bring across what's different in the Netherlands and how it works with staff in the Netherlands and employment contracts and that kind of stuff.
So I think that it brings a lot of pluses and advantages, but it also brings a lot of challenges. Can you go a little bit deeper on how do you, from your experience and from the position what you occupy, how do you see these advantages on one side, and how do you see the challenges on the other side?
Yeah, well, we see the advantages when we work internationally or do a cross-border transaction. You can grow as a company very fast because you can sell your product in the other company. Mostly there's already a distribution network, so that works very fast. But culturally, that's the biggest challenge. Like the business where you are in, it's so different how companies are directed. When you see France or Belgium or Germany, we are much looser in the Netherlands. We have we would like staff to find out their own answers to challenges. And in other companies, they really direct the staff, you have to do this, and we want you to make these steps. When you do it in the Netherlands, people get bored really fast. One company where I worked myself, bought by a French investment firm. And I think none of the management is still working there. And I think there were like 30 managers. And they just don't want to work in the style of the French.
Yeah.
And the French, they think, yeah, but our style is the best.
Yeah.
We are the company owner now, so you will just do what we say. And
The French do that.
and that's where business goes wrong. So in the negotiations, you make the deal, you're very happy, you drink champagne, but then it starts.
Then the real life happens.
Yeah, and most of the time they celebrate. We've done the deal. The company is ours, and we can move on. But then it really starts to integrate and to share goals and inform management. Because when you are a good leader, management would stay. If there's management that you don't need or doesn't have the right qualification, you let them go. But you need to be able to work with the managers of such a company because you will lose human capital, and that happens very fast in communication differences. Because when you get very hierarchical in the Netherlands, people will just go. Are you talking to me in this manner, like I'm your helper or your
Yeah.
dog?
Yeah.
Hey, goodbye. I can work
Right.
somewhere else.
And they can, huh?
And they can,
The
yeah.
shortage of talent makes it very, very easy for people. This is so funny. Two times in our conversation, I was thinking about love and marriage. The first time when we were talking about the contracts, how they can break the deal, I was thinking about the prenuptials. This couple is so much in love, and then there comes a big book of of money talk on table. And now it's again, we can drink champagne, and the end of the movie is that they get married and happily ever after, and nobody knows what the 40 years of pain and misery are coming, and then the painful divorce, something like that.
It's like we started. It's all about people. How do we talk to each other? Because when you are in a very hierarchical situation, then employees are very relaxed because they know their place and they know what they need to do. And if they do it, they will keep their job forever. When you do the same in the Netherlands, people feel bound, cannot grow, cannot develop themselves, just are kind of AI automation in the workforce, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
So
What would
so
it
it's
be
it's
your advice? How companies can tackle this challenge?
well, when you know it exists, you can see what the situation is in your company, because every company has different leadership. Sometimes companies look similar, but companies are never similar because there is an owner that's building the company in a very specific style. So you could also have in the Netherlands a lot of employees that just say yes and do the work and don't think for themselves. If the owner has built such a group of people, then it can work the same way. And the most important thing is that you recognize it. And in the deal making, there's a lot of due diligence on legal and finance and commercial contracts, but they forget to check cultural differences. And
And the
that's most
DNA. I
important.
was talking to somebody Monday, and they were talking about the merger of several companies, and that three wanted to be together, and they didn't want the fourth one because they were saying the DNA, it's not our DNA.
Yeah.
That's, but you need to go that deep to have this knowledge of a DNA, because that's something that you really need to dive deep to understand what for DNA is in the company.
Yeah, a lot of the bigger deals, like in the hundreds of millions of euros, that concerns a lot of employees. And a lot of those mergers don't work. So they just burn the money. It just doesn't work. And they, in a few years, they sell it for a lot less. And the most important thing that happens is cultural differences. The companies cannot work together. And it's very interesting. I had to learn it myself also. If you have two similar companies, you would say they are quite similar. Just check how it works and take the best of both and integrate it. But it's not that easy. You really have to see what kind of leadership is there, because when leadership changes, everything falls apart. So the basis is always people. Give the people comfort, be very clear on your goals with the company, and share the goals on the level, and what we talked about in your presentations, on the level of understanding of the staff member that you are talking to. When there are cultural differences, they will understand it differently what you are saying. So when you have a company where a lot of people from outside of the Netherlands work and you start your communication process for the integration, you really have to talk to people in their own manner, because they won't understand and they will just leave the company, and you will just have an empty shell that you've bought because the staff has left.
Yeah. Yeah, you already gave so many nice tips and things to think about. Are there any other concrete tips you can give to people who are thinking, okay, I want to do something, I want to buy something, or I want to sell something, or I want to merge something? What will be your advice?
Yeah, the biggest tip is, of course, it comes to my business. I guide people through the process. And sometimes people get so enthusiastic about the opportunity that they will just dive in and sign everything.
Don't
Uh,
do that.
uh, and and sometimes I meet them soon, so they are talking to me about what they are going to do, and I just say I will just look at the contracts with you, or what are you exactly going to do. I have the advantage being from a business management background also, and have a lot of experience in business management. And see if the plan is what they are making is valid, but also if the contract is in line with what they are telling me. And also in the Netherlands, when you are not a legal person, you read a contract, you can just say this is fine. And a legal person read it, and then they can say the totally different. They could say this contract you should never sign. And so with all business deals, even if I would make a deal myself, I would also choose external advisory. And of course, there are advisors that are very expensive in the Netherlands, that it's hardly able for an SME firm to hire them. There are also people like me who just have an hourly rate and just help to figure out the biggest risks, and that can protect you for a lot of problems. And also what we are talking about, cultural differences, contracts, business cases that are wrong. Sometimes markets collapse. They know the product will not be sold in 2 years anymore. But when you know it as business owner, you would sell it. If you think, hey, that's a great opportunity, I will pay the biggest price to get this company, and you don't know that in 2 years it's gone. So the biggest advice is just find your advisors, use your advisors, and if everything is right, the advisor will just say you're okay. Choose what kind of assistance you would like, but put it on the table what you are doing before you are doing it, because that's also where we started, the fear of money. You can lose it faster than you can gain it.
And also, I'm stepping now in your shoes, but I think that finding the advisor you can trust, and that you know that it looks further than just the numbers, it looks further than the legal stuff, which absolutely, don't get me wrong, very important. But you need to trust person, because it's somebody who walks the way with you. And when you build business from the zero, it's always emotions, it's always some emotional pain, some personal shit which is coming up. If the people think you are the person for them, how can they find you, Brian?
They can find me online through the website. arcades.nl
We will put it in the notes.
or through LinkedIn. And I think that when you are in a deal and you have a lot of staff with multiple nationalities, I think you are a very interesting person to get on the deal.
I will put my email address and my website also in the notes.
Yes.
Thanks to
I have
Brian.
I have two friends who do the marketing for the branding after the deal, and they also do the communication to the employees with the new branding of the company. Who do you want to be? What are the goals? I think you would also fit right in for them, especially because you said there are a lot of companies in the Netherlands with a lot of nationalities, and it's very important that they do it the right way. So I think you are an M&A advisor as well.
Mergers and acquisitions sounds so much about my pet, but everything with culture, I would love. I'm too passionate
Like I
about
said,
it to say no
it's
to
all about
something which
people.
comes along the way.
Yes.
Brian, thank you very much. I think that the people who never heard about mergers and acquisitions before, like me, got a really huge number of interesting insights. And the people who are in the middle of the process of thinking about the process, they got the tips. They learned a lot of really good stuff today. So, and thank you also for looking in the internationalization, the trend which is going now. So your your playing field when you're selling the company, when you're buying the company, it's not within the same borders. It can go much further than that. Guys, if you feel inspired by Brian and want to learn more how to become more confident in navigating multicultural landscape, join me in 2 weeks for another episode of Bending Culture podcast with a new interesting guest. And I want to tell you once again how important your support is to me personally and to the podcast. So please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with a fellow global changer. Until I see you again, this is Elena from Cross Cultural Development. Let's keep on bending culture together to shape a thriving, inclusive business world. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye bye.